that record is still going to stand as we jump into this drafting phase, and I think a lot of the battle is going to be predetermined right here, right now, to kick things off. And I mean, Cho, Kaja, instantly, Ultimate's looking to pick people off, say no more, get it out of my face, and of course, thank goodness Glue is out of here. So sick of him.
Yeah, I was gonna, well, how can you be sick of Glue already? It's only day 2, Gideon. I mean, give the hero, I was gonna say give the Glob like a chance here, right? But I get it, right? You don't want to see Glue pop up too often. I am more interested in those interesting matchups in the XP lane, right? And that's why I said I love seeing some of those. I mean, we even saw Terizla, right?
Yes.
And which was interesting the way that it worked out. But again, this still leaves a lot of flexibility in the draft already, even though it's only day 2. Now, of course, we're going to see kind of that meta set in as we get further into the M4 tournament here. But so far, we're waiting for one more ban. I do like the Valentina ban as well for the last part of the first draft from RRQ AKIRA.
I do think that Valentina, even though she got nerfed a couple patches back, she's still a viable choice. Why do I say this? She's so flexible.
Yeah.
You can put her in the jungle, you can put her as a roam even, and we've seen her time and time in the mid lane. So now we're gonna see the last ban coming in from the Valley. It's actually going to be the Wanwan. So really taking that as an option away for Gusta Lagusta, but the Joy was left open here.
Yeah, now, Joy is one of those heroes that we need to talk about. The question is she as good as people say she is?
Yeah.
There are many, many times where, what role is she going to go into? How much impact does she have in those games? And more importantly, it tells the Valley, hey, your CC might not necessarily be effective, assuming they play Joy perfectly.
Well, that's why I'm saying, like, if you think back to MSC, where another hero that started with J, Julian was a big question mark.
Yeah.
People were like, you know, does he work better in the jungle? Does he work better in mid? But this time, Joy adds a little bit of flavor to that because you can also play her in the side lane, the XP lane, which we've seen done before too. But yeah, the question is, where does she work best? So we'll see where she ends up going here for RRQ AKIRA. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Valley, with their 2 picks locked in, it's going to be the Faramis and the carry.
Yeah, it feels like right now the Valley, and especially for Basic, he's super comfortable playing this carry, knowing that she can scale to ascend through the heavens if she has to with a golden staff. But that does mean that the laners have to be strong, especially when we're looking at Gusta Lagusta. If he's going to pick up something like Beatrix, he needs to win the lane. But even more so, something even safer is going to come down to the Claude. Louise is going to be locking in. Oh, sorry, not even that. RRQ AKIRA is going to be locking in onto that Lolita to ensure team fights can be disengaged. And finally, the Frederick.
Okay, very, very quick picks coming through here. Now the Valley already taking that Fredrin for that side lane. Quite strong, one of the main meta EXP heroes at the moment because of how sustainable he is. And we're going now into the second phase where Yves is banned out. And I gotta say, like right now in this current patch, in this current meta, I think Yves is so strong.
Yeah, she's, I mean, even with a little bit of minor changes she's had, you know, where you only have pretty much a couple options to really stop that real world manipulation. It has to be a suppress. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's a big, pretty much taking out of that picture is going to be good. But I still want to talk about flexibility, right? Because still, you don't know where the Joy's going exactly. And secondly, with this Fredrin, could possibly end up going in a side lane as well, like you mentioned, or even jungle. We've seen him flex there.
Yeah, he has been flexed in many different places, and we're finally seeing a Leomord ban after quite some time here. I don't know. I feel like Leomord is one of those heroes where it's like you can almost guarantee a win towards the later stages of the game if your comp builds around you. However, that build-up is so very painful and such a slow roll, and I feel like teams, they want to snowball as soon and as fast as possible.
And I think that's what makes Leomord fragile. Because I've seen a lot of teams pick this up, but because they were unable to attain that early game snowball, it was kind of difficult for the Leomord to do anything in that jungle. But we're going to see the Farsa being banned out. So what does that leave Sagan, right? I guess the Xavier is something that we saw earlier, but what do you think here? I think the Lilia could be good as well.
All right, it really depends on what they're trying to achieve. The fact that the Valley is banning out both Even as well as Farsa does give the idea that they want a team fight, and more obviously so, the Faramis. So when we're looking at, okay, do we split push, or are we looking for the full-on team fight? There are 2 options. Xavier for team fights looking really good for the later stages of the game, and the fact that they banned out Grok tells me they don't want them to disengage. So it's going to be a bloody battle here.
But remember, because the Lolita was picked up by RRQ AKIRA, that actually might give them an advantage going against someone like the Faramis, who naturally you want to clump up around for that ultimate to hit. So that's something that honestly the Valley needs to think about. But first pick here for the Valley, they haven't secured a hero. Oh, but we don't know yet because Fredrin's really flex. But has Mobazane used the Fredrin in that jungle?
I wouldn't discount him the fact that he's probably played it at some point through the scrims here, right?
Yeah.
But with the Matilda coming up here, now you've got that roam choice available to you. So I still like this. There's a lot of mobility here for the Valley, right? You have the Faramis, you have Matilda, you can get into the action, you can escape it, right, with the guiding wind here. But still, the fact that you have for RRQ AKIRA, you also have that Claude and Lolita combination, but the Claude answers a lot of that Colt Alter pressure too, if placed properly, right? You still have to kind of dodge a lot here being thrown at you from the Valley. So really interested to see what their last two picks are going to be to round out this draft for RRQ AKIRA.
Yeah, I think RRQ AKIRA need to foresee that there's a good possibility that Kai is going to get picked up by Mobazane to actually help out. They're going to be playing around basic for the most part of it because carry junglers don't necessarily work with the composition that AKIRA has right now. Benedetta and as well as Xavier. I love Benedetta so much. I'm so glad she's picked twice with 100% win rate. However, it might be a little bit tough, especially with the Matilda, to help you get out of those tough spots.
Last pick here for the Valley. It's either someone for that jungle or someone for that EXP, but at this point, I think they have enough sustain. I think they have enough mobility. I would really love Mobazane to pick up an assassin here going against the Benedetta. We'll see. Oh, it's actually going to be the Lapu. So
there it is.
Fredrin in the jungle.
That's the flex, right? I mean, this is why, again, there's multiple heroes that do this for a team in the way that they draft. So I think it is a great way to do that, but you also lock in yourself a Lapu, able to jump in, can actually do the same situation that we saw with a Thamus where you can go 2v1, especially if you get an early lead. So far, solid draft from the Valley here.
Absolutely. I think solid drafts from both sides. They have some clear strategies, and I love the fact that the Indonesian fans have adopted the Brazilians here on home turf. This is going to be a beautiful game.
Still RRQ, right? So we're going to see the same five that we mentioned earlier going head-to-head with the Valley with way more mobility in their arsenal. They do have a lot of peel, and as well as they are going to be able to maneuver around the CC heavy of RRQ AKIRA.
It's going to be tough here. I'm not sure. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered, but there's only one way to define it. It's through battle. Welcome, everybody. It's RRQ AKIRA going up against the Valley in this best of one. Good luck to both teams.
Oh, this is getting so exciting. I mean, right now we can already see that Louise opening up the map, trying to give some vision, trying to figure out Mobazane's pathing, because everyone talks about the Valley, and they always say that Mobazane is one of the main pillars of their team.
Yeah, I think, we even talked about this in Keys to Victory, right? A lot of this comes down to these two junglers here. And King being on the Joy jungle, I want to see how it plays out, right? If we're going to have our answer at some point here, Gideon.
Absolutely. We want to see that highlight reel. Oh, no.
That's already going to be the first blood drawn here by Takashi. That was a great Mystic Field.
That was an interesting movement coming in from Takashi because there was, again, he's clearing up the wave against Fried Chicken. Did he also get the gold crab? He gets the kill, gets the gold crab. He's winning on all fronts for himself, all because of an individualistic play.
And I'm quite surprised, right? Because the way that the Valley drafted, the mid lane is so strong on those rotations, because RRQ BR, because they brought in Xavier, they are going to have to wait for that level 4 to hit in order to maximize the potential damage. But even then, RRQ AKIRA, they've actually managed to get a point above the Valley at this point.
Notice the movements across the map here. Again, Joy and Benedetta just cutting off the waves, making sure that Fried Chicken is just going to be stranded by himself, knowing that the turtle is going to be spawning 20 seconds on the bottom side of the map. The Valley understand this, putting their pressure on that top side to maybe draw them away.
Yeah, I think this is smart moves by both teams, the way they're answering it, but still going to lead into that first turtle of the game. It's going to be up here in just a couple seconds. But you see them both. I mean, the question is, how does RRQ AKIRA play around with Takashi's lead that he has? knowing that this first turtle comes up, it could be anyone's ball game, especially the Petrify's there. You've got the Electro Final Blow, and you're going to see them battle out for it already as both teams juggle it around. This turtle dance, Luis going to charge up the flicker in, not going to connect though. Still the fight goes on. It's going to be red street away by King. The king of the jungle stands for now as they secure the first turtle,
no, King.
but he's going to get focused down. It's Fried Chicken to take out King.
So I mean, at this point, it is a 1-for-1 trade. Takashi is going to be able to get out of that situation alive, but King for a turtle. What do you think about this here, Gideon?
King for a turtle, honestly, it's not the best in the world. Obviously, you would like to be able to survive and get the turtle at the same time. And especially when your teammate Takashi actually getting an amazing stun engagement onto the Valley, catching 4 people in that. Just no real way to capitalize on it, because again, their early game heroes is literally just Takashi, and maybe even you can make an argument for Gusta Lagusta at this point, but Sagan needs to scale up. King needs more farm, and Gusta Lagusta, just keep him in place. He's eventually going to carry at 2 items.
Yeah, I feel like right now, RRQ AKIRA, they really are playing into the tempo that the Valley wants to create for them. You can see them already once again with the better rotations. They're much faster. They're looking to secure and maybe pressure those side lanes, and that's exactly what they're doing. Basic is also farming really comfortably at this point.
Oh, they're going to put pressure here on the purple buff. RRQ AKIRA going to do their best to just try to secure it, but King gonna go ahead and use those beats to get out just in time. Should be able to secure it, but still, Mobazane gonna park himself here. The battle for the purple buff. Luis gonna charge up, gets him right on target. It's Mobazane gonna be in trouble. Colt Alter plus the guiding wind. There's a flicker from Hoon as well, all for the purple buff.
Oh no, that's so unfortunate. Sagan actually had a great opportunity to punish, but wasn't able to actually open up the gates there to lock him down, giving that moment, that small little moment for Mobazane to get on out of here. But now Takeshi is actually struggling against Fried Chicken. Now that Fried Chicken has all of his combat abilities ready, especially that ultimate, the all-ins could be devastating if he doesn't have his eye for an eye.
6 seconds left on the next turtle to spawn, and you can see RRQ AKIRA trying to set up first. We do see that Super Shark already on the way, already opening up vision. They don't want to give that early game lead that they've already attained for themselves over to the Brazilian representatives, but here we go.
They're going to start it up, looking for it. Like the final blow did come out. Who's going to secure it? It's King, but Mobazane going in as well with the guiding wind and circling eagle combination. King falls again for the turtle.
Ooh.
It's another trade though. Everybody low on the Valley
Shark.
as one after another fall. Luis to get the double. Hoon and Fried Chicken on the backside. Not going to be enough though, as another member's going to fall here. Fried Chicken only to stand.
Man, 3-for-2 trade here, Gideon. What the heck?
Yeah, beautifully played by RRQ. I mean, everything you could have imagined worked out for RRQ. The Valley were looking for an engagement. Did they have to go for it? I think they could have just backed away. The turtle was already gone. But we'll pull up the replay just in case you guys missed the action, and we'll break it down from there. Because number one, the position that we see from the Valley wasn't as good compared to RRQ. And more importantly, once the abilities start running on through, Takashi has already found his kill. Luis and as well as Sagan still alive, being able to overwhelm and out damage, isolating the right targets once Mobazane fell.
I mean, Luis is on point so far with these Nuno blasts, really finding the right targets, especially around, I mean, objectively, right? The Valley's going to want to contest those, but they've got to keep a constant eye on Luis, and Takashi being 3-0-1 on this Benedetta too is going to cause havoc as the game goes on. Look how confident he is. He's cutting that deep into the wave, right? I mean, it is pretty much happening on both sides, but still, the upper hand is for Takashi.
That's the beauty of the Benedetta, I guess, and we're going to take a little sneak into the emblems, but before we get into that, here's Super Shark getting a little chunked in terms of that health, but I think maybe King wants to go for something here.
I think they're still going to put pressure here. Under the turret they go. Ooh. Everybody joining the fight on the top side. Electro Final Blow, the Petrify. Takashi able to get the double. Can't get Hoon. Mobazane a little bit too late to the party. Gets the taunt off, though, with Hoon picking up the kill. But look at the backside. It's Fried Chicken. Finds one for himself. But ultimately now Takashi going to be caught in a position of 1 versus 3. Does he still commit to it? He bobs, he weaves. Mobazane still sticking to him. Takashi should be able to survive.
A 2-for-2 trade overall. A really good setup dive for the side of RRQ. And I think I think AKIRA had a really good idea. They should have cut their losses as soon as King was out of position. Back away. You don't need to give anything else, but the Valley's taking one step forward, getting and buying time for Fried Chicken to jump right into the middle of that fight to even out the score.
And now we're gonna see once again the setup for the next turtle, but I saw that Gusta Lagusa already had the golden staff as well as basic now, but remember that is going to be the key item for Gusta Lagusa as once again they're going in for an engage.
They pull the trigger on Saigon. They push him back here.
Oh.
They get the turret though. Dawning Light's gonna come out. Turtle still work on. Gusta Lagusa though, able to grab a kill for himself, but they do trade the turtle. Nothing too much after that.
Fried Chicken is playing so boldly, running right into the middle of that, knowing that the Golden Staff is already completed, taking a good chunk of damage from the Blazing Duet, and yet he still almost picked off a free kill for himself.
1,300 gold in their hands of RRQ AKIRA right now. I mean, at this point, I want to know, has the Valley been playing into AKIRA's tempo right now? But oh, wait a minute. Gusta Lagusa needs to be careful here.
Yeah, there's three. Actually, Luis here to help him out, so this might just be a disengage. Luis, though, just there to help Gusta Lagusa out. It's going to be a poke battle back and forth. The rest of the team still in the vicinity, but nothing going to come in out of that just yet. As you were saying, Eterna.
Yeah, I just want to know what's happening here. How did RRQ actually pick up the lead? I mean, earlier on, the Valley seemed to have the tempo. They seemed to be confident with what they were doing. Are they playing a little too aggressively into RRQ Brazil?
Well, I think it comes down to the draft, right? When we're looking at Benedetta specifically, her relevance and her power, her strength in the earlier stages of game 3, level 4 is already pretty good. Unfortunately for Fried Chicken, that's not the same for Lapu Lapu. He only feels relevant as soon as he hits level 4 and starts participating in these fights with the bravest warrior. So the fact that Takashi has already enabled RRQ AKIRA to get this lead is already great because that was the toughest part. Now they just need Gusta Lagusa and Seigen to scale up and eventually outscale the Valley. Basic on this carry, yes, he can hyper farm and scale as high as he can, but if he can't get in range, it's still a tough game.
Yeah, I think that's the downside of a carry, right? The range. The range is a big factor here. So you've really got to be careful on how your positioning is, right? Now, the Valley at this point, almost 10 minutes in, they don't have a turret just yet. So they got to be careful on especially losing map control. They already got the Cult Altar out. So that's massive before the next Lord comes. Actually, it's already spawned. So if RRQ wants to go for it, they have a perfect time.
They can They can literally start pulling away, allow the Valley to actually move because they've got priority on both bot and top side.
Yeah, they're going to be bobbing and weaving here. The Lord still being worked on, half health so far. Mobazane, though, he is going to be just taking the front of this damage. They're going to go on for Super Shark. Sniped down with the Dawning Light. Gusta Lagusa going in. What a petrify from Takashi. Able to find a basic, the perfect target needed. He's going to get cut off, but Luis with a kill for himself. 3 down for the Valley. And they're still going. What a Mystic Field with King for the cleanup. And now it's a Mobazane left alive. And that's going to be the wipe out for the Valley. What a massive play for RRQ AKIRA.
That was insane. The way that they played that team fight was so beautiful, so textbook. And that's going to give RRQ AKIRA a massive lead. And not to mention this free Lord.
I get it now. I get it why you were saying it was like a mini Blacklist International. A lot of their macro play is centralized around one objective, one thing at a time, but covering all of your bases, making it very difficult for the Valley to keep up, even if they're just slightly behind in tempo, which is rather frustrating because RRQ at this stage of the game are breaking apart the Valley just by looking for these strong engages, and especially keeping your eyes on Seigen. His Mystic Fields have been on point.
From start to here. I mean, that's what got them the first blood, right? And this all snowballed Takashi, but they're still going to be focusing here on the bottom side. Fried Chicken and Mobazane to be the front. They've got the Lord to handle the mid lane eventually, but they might get sandwiched in here for that tier 2. Look at the backside. Takashi goes in, forces them back. And just like that, they're going to lose more space on the map.
The front to back, the peel, the damage coming in from that backline from Seigen. You can feel it, and it makes sense looking at the items that he already obtained earlier. But once again, onto the mid lane.
Here comes the assault. Lord's got to be handled here. They should be able to clear it up as they hold on to both inhibitor turrets. But still, do they press the issue here? Another Mystic Field the Dawning Lights have all been on point like you mentioned.
They're just slowly cutting them down, and especially when you have Lord Empowered minions, you want to take as much advantage as possible. This is only the very first Lord, so if they get an inhibitor, it's already a big win, and there we go! It's cracked wide open.
They're going to crack it open here. Luis goes in, another Dawning Light. For now, though, it's only that mid-turret. You can still see the rest of the Valley working to clear these lanes here. They don't want to lose any more. They're trying to hold on with their dear lives 12 minutes into the game.
They need a way to get to the back line of RRQ AKIRA. I mean, the damage output coming in from Sagan with the Clock of Destiny and the Lightning Truncheon alone is already dealing that much damage here, Gideon.
It's tough. It's really tough because if we're thinking about who's going to be playing in the backline to anchor and hunker down for the team, it's definitely going to be Sagan. Oh, no.
Oh, all for the purple buff again. They're going to force Zane back.
Okay.
No one there to help him out.
All right. The Valley make a very intelligent decision. Just back away. There's no need to fight right now. 50 seconds away from the Lord, 12 minutes into the game. Your biggest objective is going to be that Lord. But yes, as I was saying, Sagan is going to be the anchor of that backline. You would expect someone like Gusta Lagusta to go in and out of fights. Luis wants to stay in the middle, but then you have Takashi and King. They're allowed to go crazy. And I think that's what's really difficult to get on top of them because you have to go through multiple layers. And even if you gap close, there's a good amount of CC to keep you in place.
So what do they do? I mean, at this point, I was like thinking about it, taking a little pause there. How is the Valley going to enter that backline? Because in theory, with the draft that they had, they do have Super Shark, Big Brother Shark on the Matilda here to dive into the backline with her ultimate, obviously, and bring someone with her as well.
Well, the easiest way that they could possibly do this is to get Fried Chicken specifically on Sagan. But wait, a fight's about to break out here.
They force Mobazane back, right? But he's going to be able to heal back up here. Still the battle for this Lord. It looks like everybody from each team is going to make their way here for this fight. Meanwhile, Takashi still trying to clear that wave a little bit. Put pressure here. Dawning Light going to be committed. Now Takashi goes in with a Petrify, able to find Hoon, gets the Cult Altar out. Lord whittled down, secured by Gusta Lagusta. And RRQ AKIRA looking still for a moment if they can. A guiding wind to come out. Still, Basic could get cut off here. The flicker, perfect spot timing. King finds Basic as he falls, and that's just disaster for the Valley. Who trying to saving grace, but he can't. 3 down, 2 in the base here. Fried Chicken finally able to get King out, but it might be too late.
Might be too late. Oh my god, that was brilliant by AKIRA. Luis found that perfect moment, and now they're gonna crack into the base. Only Hoon, only Mobazane is left.
This is gonna be dire for the Valley. They're trying their best here, but RRQ AKIRA gonna be taking a game in match against the Valley.
The Brazilian representatives come out on top, bringing down the Valley just a notch here with such an exquisite gameplay.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Shout out to you, Cabral. You've done a great job with this team so far. But man, oh man, they already knew what they had to do. They had the foresight. I'm going to get into it a little bit later on. But once again, bask in the glory as RRQ AKIRA have taken a game off of the Valley.
Man, I don't know if it was the marching band buff or the drum buff here, but that was quite the game from RRQ AKIRA here. And yeah, there might have been a saving grace there for the Valley if the game could have been drug on. But still, even with the tools they had, like you mentioned, Eterna, they had a hard time getting to the back lane. And I don't know if they could have solved that if the game went on.
I mean, other than that, what I really noticed was the way that RRQ AKIRA played that entire game, right? They realized, okay, maybe in the early game we can't be too aggressive, so they went in for the objectives. They took the bottom and the top tower, and from there they had way more map control for them to play around with.
Well, here's the thing. I'm very curious to know whether Takashi had the instinct to actually make that movement down into the mid lane to get that first blood, or whether or not this was pre-planned.
Right.
Because their entire plan, they understood that their backline was going to get threatened by one person, and that was going to be Fried Chicken. So they made sure he was at a level deficit and then continued to press their advantage afterwards. All of it, very genius movements coming in from RRQ AKIRA.
That's why I'm saying, you know, Saigon with those Mystic Fields from start to finish was on point. The Dawning Light was great, but I mean, really, the big factor here was just the Mystic Field after Mystic Field. And yeah, Takashi able to get that first blood. That's what I'm wondering too. Was it Was it all planned? Was it all part of the plan because what they saw Fly Chicken do before, and they knew that was a key component for the Valley here? Either way, still a brilliant game from RRQ AKIRA.
I mean, we're talking so much about Tekashi, we're talking so much about Sagan, but nobody's talking about Luis. I mean, that play at the last minute, I think he's had those moments over and over again.
Yeah.
The brilliant Numenon Blast taking 2 to 3 members. That's all it took for everyone else to kind of rally, and you can feel the synergy coming in from RRQ AKIRA as well to follow up.
For sure, and I think it's all about like understanding where your weak points are in the composition itself. So yes, it is very ultimate-centric, but at the very least, if things are going bad, then Numenon Blast can be used defensively or aggressively. Majority of these Numenon Blasts, very aggressive. Big plays being made when Flicker is up.
That's what I'm saying. High risk, high reward, right? When you play with that Flicker on that Lolita pick. And there were, I mean, I think he maybe only missed 1 or 2, but he made up for it for the perfect timing ones that he did land. 2-3 members of the Valley. That already made up for the misses, right? So great play also from Luis.
I'm actually curious, did anyone from the side of the Valley bring Purifying?
Shark.
Oh, Shark,
Shark,
yes.
only Shark.
I think Shark at that point of time, and I think it's important that he does have it because he's supposed to be an extending arm to the Valley, which got cut off very, very fast. Let's have a look at the item build, and I think we can dive in a bit deeper into the numbers because right now RRQ coming up in their debut game under the RRQ banner, 18-6.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, that's huge, right? That's super one-sided here. You can see the goal difference as well. 10K up until that end, 14 minutes of a game. And what else stands out to you here, Gideon, in terms of those items?
Well, the things that are standing out to me, let me just have a quick skim through between each and every one of them. All right, so when I'm looking at Sagan, very standard build overall, but when you're talking about the way that they're progressively, not really extending the game, but taking control over the game, they understood that they put a big, well, not the biggest deficits against Fly Chicken. He wasn't able to get to max level, but that's just good enough to allow the rest of RRQ AKIRA to start punishing the big members. Shark, for an example, in the draft alone, he lost his comfort pick in the Lolita and putting him on something, I don't know, not as tanky and forced to be an extension rather than be stronger.
Ooh, do you see the goal difference between Mobazane and Luis right now? Not a good look, but we are going to take a look at the post-game stats here as well between RRQ AKIRA as well as the Valley.
Yeah, I mean, they have broken the system. They just
Wow.
they have
That's
done
why-
so well.
What's going on?
Exactly. I
Turn
mean,
his brain.
Yeah, I was loading. I was like, wait, I don't think anyone played Mia. Why are there 5 Mias on both sides?
just
The
crushing
system's
it.
trolling me now.
Look, that's what happens when Joy is just popping off at times. Here we go. With the correct stats here, you can see how wild it is. Just look at the Turtle Lord and Tart. It's pushed all the way. Even the icon is barely visible. This was, again, very slow, very painful, very much like Blacklist International. And that's what's frustrating because I was hoping for an absolute bloodbath here.
This is crazy because, like, yeah, the Valley had no space to work with, and I feel like it just started very early on, right? And I'm wondering, too, does this answer the question about Joy? Did it work really well in the jungle, or is it a specific game to this one?
I feel like she was an add-on, you know? She was more like a condiment to a great sandwich already. You're looking to try and jump into the backline, but doing it by yourself can be difficult, especially since the ultimate does, you know, pulsate, and it takes a good amount of time. But when you have Tekashi, who already has a whopping lead joining with you and setting up for you, it makes all the difference.
And now thinking about who got the MVP for that game, it's giving me a little bit of a headache, right? Because I felt like everyone really did exactly what they were meant to do, especially when it came down to those team fights. So we're going to have a little countdown here. Who won the MVP for that match? It is going to be none other than Tekashi, the EXP lane on that Benedetta with a 709 KDA. But look at his KP. For an EXP lane, that is super high.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Every time I see Benedetta, such a high skill cap hero with an 88.9% overall kill participation. No deaths, played it as perfectly as he can, but extremely efficient with the hero, especially when you have something like Petrify. As soon as it's off a cooldown, let's look for a play.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying, right? Like, it's such fitting for the name, too, because Benedetta is such a flashy hero, right? And you have the name Takashi, so just a great game again. And it started really just early. The whole game was going off with the Electro Final Blows. The Petrifies were on point, too. Compared with, I mean, in comparison to with Luis and how they were able to play around those two just initiations worked really well here as we take a look at the highlights.
Yeah, and once the snowball started going on, RRQ AKIRA really understood how the Valley needed to work together. They needed to kind of stick, they needed to group to make sure they could maximize the call altar as much as they could. But that kind of works counteractively when you have Petrify and Takashi jumping in with the Electro Final Blow. It's such a huge area you can cover and lock down the Valley long enough for the Numenon Blast to connect.
And other than that, one thing that I noticed about Takashi was the fact that not only is he dishing out the damage, but he's also able to bait out so many resources from the Valley before they even go into a team fight.
I mean, they need to have those conditions, right?
Yeah.
This, honestly, if you just took out the IGNs, you wouldn't be assuming this is Blacklist International, would you not, Naisu?
I mean, I'll agree. Yes, I will just say yes. I agree. You know, maybe again, the only variable here is maybe the Joy pick in the jungle,
for sure,
right?
yes.
I think obviously, you know, Wise could play it,
Of
but
course. What
I
can't
think
Wise play?
Yeah, he'd probably go with something else, but still very reminiscent of Blacklist.
There
Yes.
you have it.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but